experience in growing your faith at Wheaton. So I'd love if a few of you guys could answer. So one particular question was, how has attending a Christian college helped you grow in your faith? There's also been a couple questions about what chapel is like, if there are opportunities to lead worship or help out with worship. So if you guys could speak a little bit to, what faith looks like at Wheaton for you.
I can hop in first on this one. I think for me, the best part about coming to a Christian college and the way that it's helped my faith the most is through just all of the people, all of my peers that I'm around here. I think I also saw a question about denominations on campus and stuff. I think we have every denomination. I think we literally have every denomination. And the way that I grew so much throughout my time here is just you're meeting all these people on your floor and you're like, wait, what do you believe that about? What is that? And you start hearing different things from different people and their different experiences with Christianity. And you talk to your friends and you think about stuff. And so I've grown a ton just through, even just through living together with other Christians who have had different experiences than me, have different particular stances on things about faith than me. And that has been just a huge help to me, just to think about and talk to them. And that has been a huge encouragement to my faith. As far as chapels, I can quickly get that too. We have 3 chapels a week in a normal semester at Wheaton. And they are required, and you have a certain number of absences that you can take if you need them. That has been another way that's been just super helpful to my faith. It's been this time, coming in, I went to public school in high school. I'd never done like a chapel at school. I wasn't sure what it would be like. And some days it's definitely hard to go. You're like, man, I got a lot of work to do. I got a paper due next class. But I've found it to be so immensely helpful to me, especially on those days where I'm like, oh, I'm busy. I don't know if I can make it. Because it's this time where we can just take a time apart and worship together with the campus and pray together with everyone on campus and worship. And it has just been just a huge blessing in my faith to have that time 3 times a week to just take a break and worship right in the middle of the day with the whole campus.
Yeah, I was also a chapel skeptic coming in from public school, never having experienced it before. And I would say I have a very similar story to Ben, that even now when chapel looks so different, I still continue to watch and love just taking that time out of my day, especially because now I've established a rhythm of it. And I miss being together as a campus in chapel so much. One of the things that is the most sad I think about not being able to gather all together this year. But I would also say, just as people have referenced discipleship groups and things like that, that spiritual life on campus is so not limited to the chapel space. That is one just small sector. And I think one of the things that sets Wheaton apart the most is that the people on your floors and the people who are involved in student engagement, whether that be a resident assistant or mentors in different programs, and your faculty, care deeply about your spiritual well-being and on top of your academic and social well-being. And you can have deep spiritual conversations with the person that you're walking to the cafeteria with, which is just when am I ever going to have that again in my life? It's such a unique time, and so much growth has come from that, and just plethora of conversations that just pop up everywhere.
Yeah, thank you all for sharing about that. Another question we'd love to hear about is if any of you have had a study abroad experience or plan to study abroad at Wheaton, maybe what that's looked like, the process, or sharing your experience. And I know you studied abroad. Go for it.
I think I want to study abroad. I technically haven't studied abroad, taken a class, but I was involved in a program that Wheaton does called Student Ministry Partners, which you basically are a ministry intern with a missions organization somewhere in the world. So I interned in Cologne, Germany with Greater Europe Mission, a missions organization, for 2 months during my summer after my freshman year with 3 other Wheaton students, so 4 of us total. And it was a crazy experience. Like, definitely not all of what I thought it was going to be, but such a time of like deep growth for me, either like just cultural understanding and how other people experience their faith around the world. Some experience with evangelism for the first time, and like forced me to get out of my like own little shell. And just like very stretching experiences on all accounts. If you're thinking of studying abroad, I was hoping to study abroad again. Again, COVID. I would so do it. It's so worth it. Just to like have to take like 2 or 4 months, either summer or semester, to immerse yourself in a culture that is completely different than everything else you'll experience in your college experience. Could not recommend enough.
Thanks, Anna. There's a question about what the professor-student mentor relationship is like at Wheaton. Could you guys maybe share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I've personally got to know quite a few professors here at Wheaton, and I mean, honestly, due to the small class sizes, generally, it's been so much easier to get to know professors as opposed to, say, a state school. So I've had so many professors tell me, actually, every professor has told me here that they have office hours, and you can just sign up for the office hour and just come in and talk to them about whatever. And it doesn't even have to be about class per se. You can just kind of talk to them, and they're a resource for you in terms of just anything that's going on in your life. And I found that immensely helpful. Just going through some stuff, it's just been super helpful to have these really mature Christians here that are willing to help you in your faith and every other aspect of your life. So yeah, and even with COVID too, so many of the professors have just been so understanding and so giving of their time, just with everything that's going on. I've just really realized just the love I've just really seen the love of Christ through my professors, and I just think that's awesome to see.
I've totally seen that too, Mark. I think it was something that I've come to realize is that it's so true that professors want to get to know you. I think my freshman year, I was a little intimidated, like, oh, these people, they're so knowledgeable. Why would they want to get to know me? Why would they want to talk to me? But this year, I've really made it a point to try to schedule office hours just to get to know my professors, because I really discovered last year that they really do care about students and want to get to know you more than just in the classroom context. And something that's been really neat this year, one professor in particular, we were able to meet like in their office, but we actually met outside, socially distant. And I scheduled like a 20-minute meeting, but we ended up talking for like an hour about life. And she prayed for me, and yeah, she's just been checking in with me. It's really, really great. And then last year, actually, I had a professor who would have our entire class over to her house. This is obviously before COVID, but it was a Jane Austen class, and so she had us over to her house a couple times to watch different film adaptations of the book, and she made us tons of dessert, and it was just so fun just to get off campus and just have that really personal connection with my professor.
I can add a little bit to that. I've also been to professors' homes like for dinner with our class, and that's always been really nice, and it does look different this year. But one of my favorite professors actually is my debate coach. So I've been able to have this relationship with her for over a year now. And so it's just been a really cool sort of mentorship. And so normally she would have us over to her house, but that wasn't possible this year, so she had our team for like a picnic. So she ordered Chipotle for us. I don't know if you guys like Chipotle. That's a big thing for me. So she ordered Chipotle for us, and we did like a picnic in the park. And she actually brought her husband and her kids with us, which was just like a really neat experience, because you kind of feel like she's welcoming you into her family, which is really nice when you're, especially as a freshman, when I came here, just missing my family a lot. It was kind of nice. Obviously, they couldn't replace them, but to sort of have like a Wheaton family who were just really welcoming. And she's been very helpful with me whenever I feel overwhelmed or stressed. I can just talk through things with her. But I found that to be the case with any professor. I've never had a bad meeting with a professor. They've all just been super kind and understanding all the time.
Thanks, you guys. Yeah, I would love to ask, someone asked about maybe how Wheaton has been engaging with the racial division in our country right now. How do you guys speak to how, yeah, you contribute to and engage with kingdom diversity on campus?
I can add a little bit to this one too. So I don't really have a long answer, but Wheaton is starting something tomorrow called Table Talks, which is just a place for students to have conversation about the issue. And so obviously I haven't done it yet. I actually just decided to sign up for it today, so I don't really have a lot of information. But my understanding of it is just, someone correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think it's like a conversation to just talk about racial divides in our country and racial tensions and sort of like how we as the kingdom of Christ should respond and what our role should be in that. And so I'm really excited to do it. If I ever get to talk to you guys again, I'll let you know how it went. But yeah, that's just like a little bit of what I've heard of what Wheaton's doing.
On top of that, the Office of Multicultural Development here at Wheaton is a super great resource for students of color to just really be themselves and have a space where they can share like things that are going hard in their lives, whether it's racially related or not. But over the summer, every single week, they'd send an email just kind of asking how students were doing, and that made a lot of students feel really loved. I know I felt really loved after receiving that email or receiving those emails weekly. So yeah, the Office of Multicultural Development is a great resource for a lot of students on campus.
I would also add, as far as like what Wheaton is doing corporately as a school, this kind of goes back to my class that I was mentioning earlier, but like in our it's Hispanic Heritage Month right now. So in our chapel services, we've been singing songs in Spanish. We've been having our students of Hispanic heritage and our professors get up and share their experiences with us in chapel. So that's one way that Wheaton is very specifically like, we're going to highlight the diversity that is here and highlight the diversity within the body of Christ through our worship on campus.
Thank you all for sharing. Another question that we had that I think would be super great to touch on is what the integration of faith and learning practically looks like. So I think the question was specifically towards science, if you guys are in a science major or have taken science classes at Wheaton, but even in your major, if you could speak to that, that would be great.
Yeah, so I'm personally not a science major, but I can definitely speak to a little bit of my business econ classes. I'm currently taking principles of marketing right now, and so one of the things we're really highlighting a lot in that class is being able to market ethically to people. And I think that's important just for that area of study because a lot of companies don't have those underlying kind of Christian values per se. So a lot of just different organizations try to take advantage of others. So I just think it's awesome that Wheaton's really teaching us how to do things right in that respect. And I just love that Wheaton's taking those Christian values and really integrating them into that as well. Um, and yeah, just in terms of other business classes I've had, uh, pretty much at the beginning of almost every class, we do just a little reading out of the Bible, and it's pretty much a devotion that our professor does. And actually, in my management class, it's actually been flipped. The professor has encouraged us to sign up for days where we give our own devotions. So that's just been really great to even if the devotion doesn't necessarily relate to the subject matter. I think it's great just to be reminded of that almost every day during class.
I don't think any of us are science majors, but I can try. I'm about as far from a science major as it gets. But I did take, for one of my classes, I took physics of sound, which was a science integrated core class. And I think that as far as how sciences integrate faith and learning at Whedon, first of all, what are we studying when we're doing science? We're studying the world. We're studying the way God has made everything. So you're really, I mean, that's what we're all about. On the outside of our science building, we have the verse from Colossians about it was created by him and for him. So everything you're doing when you're studying science at Wheaton, you're studying how God has created our world. And I think the other way you really see how faith and science are integrated at Wheaton is through your professors. So my professor for physics of sound, she's a physicist, and she actually works also at University of Chicago doing a bunch of cancer radiology imaging research. So just talk to her and ask her questions about how does she work as a Christian in her field? How does she try to share her faith with her colleagues? How does she view her faith in relation to her field and her studies? So that was really impactful for me. Just thinking about, man, how do you get those two things together? So I think just from the talking to your professors who are all doing like research in their field in the sciences and asking them, hey, how do you integrate your faith with your work that you're doing right now?
Yeah, thank you. Those are really great answers. And I'm even remembering my time as a student, getting to see how my professors were great examples to me and helped me integrate my faith with psychology in my field. So another question that I would love to ask a few of you to answer. So we have really, really great community at Wheaton. We've talked a lot about what life at Wheaton looks like, but maybe what involvement outside of the Wheaton community looks like, whether that's volunteering in the community or just getting to explore Chicago and all that Chicago has to offer.
I can answer a little bit about this. So as a freshman, I didn't venture off campus too much, which I kind of regret not doing. But on Wheaton's campus, we actually have a train station that will take students into downtown Chicago in about 45 minutes, and it costs like $5 for one way. So it's not that expensive, and it's definitely better than an Uber or trying to find a place to park in downtown Chicago. But when you're in downtown Chicago, there's access to all sorts of things. So last year, I actually got to see Hamilton. Thankfully, it is, yeah, Anna's right. It's a little closer to 7. You can get a weekend pass for $10 and take unlimited trips for that. But yeah, I got to see Hamilton. It was a great experience. I loved it. But students also have access to the Chicago Institute of Art with their Wheaton IDs for free. So a lot of students take advantage of that opportunity. And there's also lots of places to hang out and eat in downtown Wheaton. It's just a 10-minute walk off campus, so it's not too far. Yeah.
Okay, I have one other question I would just love to close with. So if all of you could just share a little bit about what do you feel like sets Wheaton apart? As a student who chose between a lot of schools and ended at Wheaton, and students who are currently at Wheaton, just getting to share what you think is really unique about Wheaton as a community and as a college.
This is something that I didn't share when we were talking about classes and professors, but I had an experience with a professor last year that was just, it blew everything I've ever known about teachers and professors out of the water. So I had signed up for a class that isn't in my major, but I just thought it'd be a fun class to take. So I took it, and the first day when I walked into class, I'd never seen the professor in my life, never met him, didn't know anything about him. But when I walked in, he saw my face and immediately knew my name. That just like, that made pretty much the rest of my semester super great. I absolutely loved the class, but The effort that professors put into the relationships really sets Wheaton apart. Like, you'll pretty much never take a class with a TA, and you will always get to know the professor. As many people said, like, they'll invite you to their houses, they will want to grab meals with you, they want to get to know you as a person.
So this is I'm as you know, I'm not a Bith major at all. But what I think sets Wheaton apart from other schools, particularly Christian schools as well, is just their really high focus on just educating Christians on the Bible and just theology as well. It honestly really surprised me that Wheaton requires survey of the Old Testament, survey of the New Testament, and then Christian thought, which is kind of a class talking about Christian theology. And growing up, I was in public school, so I had never really been trained formally in theology or just taken any formal classes like that. So it honestly just blew me away how in depth we went, especially Old Testament. I've honestly found in this culture, we just don't really touch on the Old Testament as much. Um, I think that's kind of unfortunate. So I actually had a professor that really went into depth about the cultural contexts of the Old Testament, which just really blew my mind with what we learned with that. So yeah, just honestly, just the knowledge of the professors in that field, and just I think it's awesome that they require us to do that too.
I'll just quickly add on to what Mark said and second what he said. Like for me, it's your ability at Wheaton to do what you want to do in your major at a high level. So for me, to be able to continue to play bass in high level ensembles and to study music, but also, like Mark said, to study the Bible because I want to go into ministry. And so to be at a place where I can play incredible music and get incredible teaching and instruction in the Bible is huge. It's huge. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you all for sharing. So I think we're going to wrap up the panel, and we're grateful to have had all you join us. And so last question that I'll kind of address is the community and belonging seem to be a big focus at Wheaton. How can I connect with the Wheaton community and current students if I'm not able to visit yet? That's such a good question, especially since so many of the students up here shared about how that connection to Wheaton and students is really what set Wheaton apart and is what encouraged them to come here. So I just want to encourage you all that we are so happy to connect. So every month we'll be having these events where we'll have students, some of the same students, some different students sharing. We'll have different questions. And then also just as admissions counselors and as counselor assistants, we're always happy to set up phone calls, email, Zoom appointments. If you guys ever just want, to meet students on campus, I'm happy, and all the counselors are happy to get you connected to different student groups on campus, to individuals, as well as to even professors if you have a major of interest. So just if you ever have a question, keep in touch. We really care about you guys. We pray for you individually as well as an office, and want what's best, and are excited as you're navigating your college search. We have our first application deadline October 15th, and so I just really want to encourage you, if any questions have come up or you need help with application, to really reach out to us, and we'll be in contact. And for any questions that weren't answered, we're excited to get back to you by email or by phone.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys. Have a great night.